Welcome back to My Life with Usher Syndrome. I want to start this video off just by introducing that if you are new to this community, either with a diagnosis for a kid you have or yourself, there are a lot of resources that may be very valuable to you in my previous video. And if you still just need someone to talk to or anything like that, you are still all welcome to find me on social media. I just think that one resource and support resource video that I had posted last is something that pretty much everyone, it's got something for everyone in it, just at some point of whatever stage of your life you're in. Also, if you're new to this community, I want to talk real quick just about the Usher Syndrome Ush Connections Conference. That happens every year, and this year it is in Austin, Texas in July 2022, and you are welcome to register. I'll put a link in the description box just so you can go find it and just read more information about it if that's something that you're interested in. And they also are offering an in-person and a hybrid, so you'll be able to video watch everything, and it's a little cheaper to attend for the hybrid version versus if you can't go in person. So for the big part of this video, I had asked people on social media, I had asked my family and friends if they had any questions for me that they either didn't know the answer to or they were curious just where I was at this point, moving on from one of my first videos when I went into a very long question and answer video just about everything relating to my life. So I got quite a few questions, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with that. So I'm gonna be reading off a piece of paper just kind of the questions, and I'll be answering them mainly just for myself and then whatever facts and research that I do know about them. So the first question was, they wanted to know just more about the types and how the different types of Usher syndrome affect people differently. So there's type 1, 2, and 3. They each have subtypes to them as well. And it's just basically different mutations and how the body is affected differently for each type and subtype. So for type 1, they are typically born with a very prominent hearing loss, and they also might have some vestibular or balance issues. I have heard that there are some kids who do not have vestibular or balance problems, but for the most part, a lot of the type 1 group, they are born with a balance problem, and they do have vision concerns and issues pretty early on in their childhood. Type 2, they're really only born with hearing loss. They don't have anything affecting their vision yet. And then whenever they hit adolescence, that's kind of when the retinitis pigmentosa comes into play. And then again, it affects everybody differently. Just for every single type, everyone is affected a little differently. Type 2 does not usually have too many vestibular or balance problems, but it can be variable just depending person to person. Type 3, they are born with hearing and vision, and then as they get older, the hearing decreases pretty rapidly, and then the vision decreases pretty rapidly as well. And then that one is also variable for vestibular and balance problems as well. That's just kind of the quick overview of the very basic type 1, type 2, type 3. Question 2. I got actually quite a few questions about dating when you either have a genetic disorder or you know that you are going deaf, you are going blind. And they were really good questions. And so a lot of this is mainly going to pertain to myself. So I'm married. I've been married about 2 years now, and I'm 25. I was diagnosed right after I turned 18, and it can be a lot. You don't know how people are going to react, and it's something I'm very open about. I don't ever want to hide something from someone, because if I'm hiding a part of me from somebody, they're never going to get to know me. And so I actually met my husband through my now brother-in-law and my sister. My brother-in-law and husband work together, so they introduced us, and once we met, we were basically attached at the hip from then on. And when we were very early dating, someone at his work had actually asked my husband, my now husband, he said, well, isn't she going blind? Aren't you worried you're going to have to take care of her and things like that later on? And the way he said it, he didn't come off mean about it. He was genuinely just asking, and it's okay to ask questions. So I'm not upset that he asked that or anything like that. But the way my husband answered it was, well, yeah, but it's a part of her. It's not all of her. She's still her own person outside of this disorder that she has. And so I knew pretty early on, like, I wanted to spend my life with him, mainly because of how he handled himself, how he takes care of me, and everything like that. So I really appreciated that. I would say if you're younger and you get a diagnosis, because I wasn't diagnosed till older, so I was still kind of trying to figure out my place in the Usher syndrome world, B, in my own world. I wasn't even through college when I was diagnosed, and now I'm almost done with grad school with a diagnosis of this. So that's really exciting. But I think that every approach to finding somebody that you want to spend time with and that you care about, I think you really should focus on being honest. And it's okay to have very vulnerable conversations early on, because all that's going to do is either set your relationship up for expectations and how they can take care of you, how can you take care of them, and things like that. And I think that's very important, especially when you're looking to spend your life with somebody. And so that's kind of my take on dating for any type of genetic disorder and things like that. I do want to talk a little bit just about spousal awareness in social situations. When my husband and I first started dating, he was kind of trying to get a feel for, okay, where does she need help? Do I need to say there's a mirror next to her on a car she's about to walk into? What do I do? And so we sat down and we kind of just talked about different situations and things like that I would need help in. And he was very open and honest about being willing to help and just help navigate me in situations. And so I don't currently use a blind cane. I'm still driving. My vision is still holding very stable. I feel very confident when I drive. I'm not concerned about things with my vision when I drive. So I don't need as much help as sometimes other people in the Usher syndrome community might, and that's okay. I know at this time I will get to a point where I will need more help. I will have to give things up. I've accepted that. There's good and bad days with accepting it, but I know as of now, I do have a timeline, and that's okay. So whenever we're in a social situation, and let's just say we're going to a restaurant that I've either never been to or I know it's a really dark restaurant, my husband knows, like, he will hold me, he will have me hold his belt loops, like, he guides me in situations that I'm not familiar with. And I just tell him, I'm like, hey, stop for a second, I can't see as well. And he'll stop, he waits for me. If he keeps going on accident or something, I just yell at him and he comes right back. He's very good with helping me navigate. He's happy to help me navigate. We chose each other and we knew what we were getting into in terms of dating, and we set expectations very early on, and I think that's very important to do. Okay. The next question was really just about grief and being told you're getting a diagnosis. No matter what kind of diagnosis it is, it could even be the loss of someone important to you, a family member. And grief is never going to be a one-way track. You're not just going to be in denial, be mad, accept it, and move on. They do say, time helps everything. Time does help. Rebecca Alexander, she's very well known in the Usher syndrome community. She has type 3 and she's written a book. She's athletic. She's done all this crazy cool stuff. And she actually told me one of my favorite quotes a few years ago. We don't move on through anything, we move through it. And I feel very validated in that, especially with trying to grieve any type of diagnosis or the loss of somebody that you may ever have. It's okay. It's okay to let yourself feel things and move through them and work through them. And I think that's probably the hardest part. I hate talking about grief because it makes me sad. Okay, I'm not good at talking about grief, especially my own grief, because I don't like being vulnerable. I don't like people seeing how I feel at times. And it's hard. You don't know what the future holds. And let's be honest, nobody knows what the future holds for them anyway. But when you know you have a timeline on something, it can really change how you grieve. I'm not one who likes to wear my emotions where everyone can see them. I've pretty much always been that way. Playing sports, I was taught to just have a stone cold face. That way no one could see if I was mad or happy, anything like that. And so being vulnerable, talking about grief is something that's hard. Everyone's different. We all have to work through things in whatever way works for us, and it's okay if it takes time. It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. I don't like talking about things. I would rather just take a step back from everything, go read a book for a day, wake up the next day, and be fine. And that's what's hard with Usher syndrome. Like, you wake up and you're like, I can see so well today. I can hear everything. Gonna be a great day. The next thing you know, the next day, you're like, I can't see. Like, it's not making sense. You have good and bad days, and there's just some days that are really bad and you run into everything possible. And it's okay to just let yourself feel those emotions. You don't necessarily have to go talk to somebody about them, because I don't like doing that. And I like to just take a breather and take a step back. And then I let myself just wake up the next day and I'm like, yesterday is yesterday. We're done with it. We're moving on. We're going to go have a great day today. And that's very similar to what Rebecca Alexander has said. Like, move through something. It's okay if you need to feel whatever you need to feel. And I just think that's very important, especially in our world. It's hard. We don't know, especially as kids and as parents. I think grieving is probably the hardest part of any diagnosis or any loss, especially grieving what could be a future loss. I hope that gives a little bit of insight. I don't like being vulnerable, and that's a really hard one for me to open up on, but I just want everybody to know it's okay just to grieve whatever way you need to and move through it. And it's okay to have good and bad days. As long as you just know that whatever you're feeling, it won't ever be permanent. Even the happy, the sad times, it just won't ever be permanent. Just remember that, and better days will come, bad days will come. It's okay to feel whatever you need to feel during those times. So the next one I'm going to talk about is careers. What kind of careers can people with Usher syndrome have? You can do whatever you want. There are some things we physically cannot do at certain points in our life. And maybe you have a really big passion for something and then you're told, you might not be able to do that. That's okay. It's okay to feel whatever you need to feel, but it's also okay to go try to find something that you are passionate about and that you enjoy. I'm almost going to be an audiologist. I have 1 year left of school to be a doctor of audiology, which is insane to me because it has absolutely flown by. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you set your mind to it and you work hard for it. Whatever you want to do is up to you. I do want to talk a little bit just about like a timeline for a career. We do kind of have a timeline for certain careers. And I know that going into my field, I know I've got a set timeline on how long I can be extremely successful as an audiologist. So I'm super excited for however many years I do get the chance to work. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I have to work till the end of time. And what constitutes the end of time? Your vision, your hearing, your life. I mean, there is a timeline, I know that, on my career, unless something changes to where there is either a treatment or a cure, just because there is none right now. And I'm okay with that. It's really gonna stink when I can't do what I've gone to 8 years of school to do, but I know there will be a day that I'll find something else that I can be really passionate about. The next one was really asking me about how you find your support system. I think the Usher syndrome community itself is a great support system. Whether it's the younger kids, it's the older adults who they've lived it, they've gone through it all. They went through it all with way old technology. I just think it's important that you find a network of people, whether they have Usher syndrome, they're your friends, they're your family. It's important to find your people. You need the support that will always be there for you. And there are some people that do phase out, and that's okay. If you guys are just on different tracks, it's okay to phase things out that just may not be in your best interest anymore. And with mine, I mean, one of my best friends is somebody that I've known since I was like 9 or 10 years old. She doesn't see me as, oh, the girl who has Usher syndrome I'm friends with. She sees me as, oh, this is Robin. She's my best friend. That's just how it is. I have very long-term best friends, and I was lucky enough to be able to find that when I was young. So that's just, I'm very blessed in that aspect. I'm lucky to have found the person I'm spending my life with and the friends and family members that I've been able to make even closer and special relationships with. So I think it's really just about building a network around you that you're proud of and that push you to be a better person every day. The next question is about having the confidence to be an advocate for yourself and your disorder. So just to preface everything, I think everyone needs to be an advocate for themselves no matter what. Don't be afraid to speak up. That's just my opinion. Whenever you do have a disorder, you might even be more afraid to speak up because maybe you sound different, maybe you look a little different. That's okay. You are you. You were made specifically to be you for a reason. And you need to shine like it. That's just, you need to do it. There's a lot of kids in teenage world who, oh, I wear hearing aids. Oh, I have to use a cane. That's okay. Use the freaking hearing aids. Use the cane. They're there to help you. Tools and resources are there to help you be the best you that you can be. And I think all kids and even adults, like, it's okay to ask for help. Be confident when you ask for help. Say, hey, I cannot do this. I can't reach this. I am about 5'1" tall. I can't reach hardly anything in my house. So I either A, get a step stool and do it myself, B, ask somebody to get it for me. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be proud of who you are. You might be a little different than your neighbor. That's fine. Be proud of who you are. And the second you gain that confidence of being very happy with yourself and proud of everything you've accomplished, any type of therapy, treatments, anytime you accomplish something, you should be proud of it. And I think that being proud of yourself will completely change how you can advocate for yourself. And it's okay to just say, hey, I need this. I don't need this right now, but it might be good to have that just for future reference. So for this last part, I'm going to talk just a little bit about genetics and genetic testing. So for the Usher syndrome community, at least, since it is a pretty rare disorder, it's obviously recessive. Both parents have to have it, and then there's a 25% chance of a baby having it. There's a 50% chance of a baby being a carrier, and then there's a 25% chance of the baby not having it at all, just depending on what you're given. So obviously I have it. I have a sister. She's 2 years older than I am. She recently just became a mom. That's exciting. So she wanted to obviously have her genetics tested just to see what the possibilities would be. So she is in fact a carrier of Usher syndrome. So when she got those results, her husband was then tested and he is not a carrier. So that's cool. They kind of had an idea of what to at least expect, even if that wasn't going to change anything they were going to do. It was just cool that they had the opportunity to be informed just about what could be in their body and what they may be giving to a baby. So that was really cool. I want to talk a little bit about how to navigate genetic testing. I was tested when I was 17, so I was still a minor. So adult testing is just a little different. The way we went about it, we had talked with my audiologist at the time. she said, oh, you'll probably need to go to your primary care physician, get the referral to go elsewhere for it. So I went just to my normal primary care physician's office. They sent me a referral to downtown Fort Worth to a bigger hospital. They just took blood. They sent it to Cincinnati and they did genetic testing. It took about 6 months to get the results. We got the results that summer, right before I was going to college. And that was pretty much how that test itself worked. Once we got the results, we went in and we met with a geneticist. The geneticist is someone who physically gives you a diagnosis. They do give you resources and things like that, but they really give you just the diagnosis and information about the diagnosis. I want to specify a genetic counselor as well. The genetic counselor is somebody that is there specifically to give you support, resources, treatment options, and just everything like that. You will meet with both of them if you do get a diagnosis of some type of disorder. And so that's just kind of the difference between them, and that's what they're there for. And I think it's great to ask questions, use any resources that they offer to you. That's about all I have just for this video. I will probably be making another video this year at some point. I want to talk a little bit just about upcoming research. There was more research to talk about in this video, and then some stuff changed. So I want to make sure I have my information correct at this point for that. And then I also, in the next video, I really want to talk about kids and parents and social media. I think it's going to be something that is going to be beneficial to parents and to kids. I think there's a lot just going on in any type of disability and social media and everything like that right now. So stay tuned for that. And as always, you can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram. That's all I have. I don't have anything else. You can always ask questions just below. I do monitor the comments still, so if you have any questions, feel free just to ask them. Don't forget, if you're new to this community, there's a conference this year for 2022, and I think it's a great resource. You can meet a lot of fantastic people, very knowledgeable people. You get to hang out with people who do have Usher syndrome. You can see other successful people with Usher syndrome. So I think that's a very great opportunity that if you are new to this community, it really will open your eyes.